It is both chilling and symbolic that a speech echoing through the ancient walls of Parliament, once a sacred chapel, now sounds more like a warning siren than a sermon. A wind is blowing, and it's not one of grace or calm, but of rising fury, economic collapse, institutional cheating, and a nation's spiraling into confusion. As the echoes of Christianity fade from the stone pillars of Westminster, in their place rises a chaos that even our clown ministers can no longer disguise behind PR and press releases. The chamber may still carry the structure of reverence, but today it is haunted by the ghosts of a broken Britain, run by over-promoted nobodies who worship nothing but attention, virtue-signaling policies and their own inflated egos. The original purpose of this place, debate, truth, faith, has been humiliated. What stands now is a circus of emotionally fragile bureaucrats, budget beggars pretending to be leaders, and taxpayer vampires draining the very people they claim to serve. Live TV captures it all: the fake outrage, the carefully timed tears, the performative empathy that masks deep rot. It was meant to be a space of honesty and conscience, but now it's become a marketplace of betrayal, economy, disturbance, and moral collapse. This Parliament, once the lawgiver of the Church of England, now appears allergic to moral law. Our democracy, allegedly rooted in Christian faith, has become a spineless puppet show, where every institution built on centuries of shared belief is now mocked or ignored. A bombshell week recently exposed the depth of our decline. In 3 days, Parliament pushed through laws to end the lives of 9-month unborn babies and to legalize the assisted death of the elderly and disabled. And this wasn't done in secret. It was broadcast, proudly, and when one lone voice stood to describe it as the greatest sin, they were met not with reflection but with silence, the cold, calculating silence of cowardice. Because it wasn't just a policy debate, it was an act of cultural suicide, and no one said a word. The public is growing curious, suspicious, and furious. They're beginning to connect the dots. Behind every failed policy is a publicity parasite desperate for applause and terrified of truth. And behind every hollow promise of inclusion or diversity lies a cover-up for incompetence and control. Nowhere is that clearer than in the rise of the new godless ideologies replacing Christianity. Hollow religions worshipped by woke priests in the civil service, the media, and academia. These ideologies don't build, they destroy. They don't inspire, they indoctrinate. And they are not neutral. The modern woke cult is a calculated mix of ancient paganism, Christian heresy, and soulless modernism, weaponized to tear down every meaningful structure, family, faith, tradition, and truth. And worst of all, it's funded by you. Yes, the taxpayer pays for their own indoctrination through institutions now run by spineless ideologues and emotionally fragile administrators afraid of every opinion that challenges the narrative. These are not leaders, they are virtue signalers, careerist cowards, and political clowns. They cling to titles but run from responsibility. And when the public dares to challenge them, when Brother Malik in Bradford or Mrs. Hughes in Cornwall dares to ask why their children are being fed ideology instead of education, these same elites mock, censor, and ignore. This isn't an isolated problem. It's systemic. The Church of England itself, once the chaplain of the nation, now stands leaderless, divided, confused, a mirror of the political mess that runs this country. Even the process to select the next archbishop is in chaos, more like a PR campaign than a spiritual calling. And as the church loses its voice, the vacuum is being filled by dangerous replacements. Islam is rising fast. And while values overlap with conservative principles, it cannot and will not replace Christianity as the foundation of Britain. But even more dangerous is the rise of the anti-faith, a cult that believes in nothing but power, division, and destruction. This hybrid religion of the elite despises Christianity because it cannot control it. So they push their own gospel: gender confusion, climate hysteria, racial division, and the false god of state dependency. And they preach it from every school, every university, every HR department, with the same intensity the old church reserved for salvation. And make no mistake, these policies are not just misguided, they are dangerous. They've turned our economy into a circus of chaos, our culture into a playground for ideological bullies, and our politics into a game of who can virtue signal loudest. People are angry. They see their taxes funding drag queens in libraries while their hospitals collapse. They see politicians obsess over language while knife crime explodes. They see Labour MPs embroiled in corruption scandals while families rely on food banks. The government keeps telling us to trust the process, but the process is broken, and the people know it. They know this isn't just a left or right issue. It's a crisis of courage, of leadership, of morality. They don't want more soundbites from spineless puppets or more budget speeches from emotionally fragile careerists. They want action. They want justice. They want a nation that protects its children, honors its history, and builds a future worth inheriting. And if we refuse to confront this collapse, if we continue to bow to clown ministers and publicity parasites, if we keep pretending that godless neutrality leads to freedom, then we deserve what comes next. Because the storm is coming. And when it hits, it will not spare the entitled elitists who watched silently while Britain was dismantled piece by piece. But there is hope. There is always hope. Because the nation that gave the world the Magna Carta, the common law, and the fight against tyranny still breathes beneath the surface. The revival can come, but only if we reclaim what was lost. Only if we remember that freedom without faith is a lie, that dignity without duty is an illusion, and that a society that forgets God becomes a society ruled by tyrants. We've been here before, and we found our way back. Now is the time to do it again.